Welcome, everybody. A little technical difficulty there. So glad to have you guys here today. And in America, it is Memorial Day. So if you are American, happy Memorial Day. If you are not American, happy Monday. Today, we're going to be talking about what to do if and when you sometimes lose motivation to practice guitar. We all have days where we feel more inclined to practice, and other days when we're just not really that motivated. And that happens to everybody. It happens to the greatest players in the world. It happens to the hobbyists. It happens to everybody. So today we are streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll be speaking with a very special guest today. He is a certified elite guitar teacher. He founded and owns his own music school in Germany. He's spoken at my live events to hundreds of people around the world in Chicago in the past. He is the guitar motivation coach, and his name is Derk Stiepelmann. So welcome, Dirk. Glad to have you here. Oh, I think you might be muted, Dirk.
Got it. Thank you for having me, Tom Hess. Hello.
All right. So, Dirk, you've had many students. By the way, Dirk, you might want to mute yourself while I'm talking, just to avoid an echo for people listening, and then I'll do the same when you talk. You've had a lot of students, and you have a lot of students over many years. And as you know, and I know you know this very well, many people start out, very excited about playing guitar, learning guitar when they first get a guitar, or first come into your school for lessons or whatever. But sometimes, they have periods when they lose some or sometimes even all of their motivation to learn, practice, play, advance, improve, study, master things on guitar. And motivating guitar players is your specialty, which is why I, of course, asked you to come in today. So I know that you have overcome some really, really huge obstacles in your life, both musically and personally, that the average person has never had to endure, couldn't even imagine enduring. Maybe if you want to begin by briefly telling us your story. I'm not sure how much detail you want to go in here. It's pretty extreme, some of the things you've overcome. But if you want to just go over some of your basic story and share some of the things that you've had to overcome, and then sort of tell us how you did it. And I want everyone to hear this, because after you do, if you guys hear this, you'll understand why you should be listening to Dirk and what he has to say. So, Dirk, turn it over to you.
Sure. So let me start by, yes, you were right. I had some pretty extreme obstacles in my way as a musician. And, for many, many years now, I've been suffering from ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease. And this affects basically the body, attacks the large intestine, and over time basically totally destroys it. And the symptoms are extreme fatigue, joint pain, blood loss when I go to the restroom, for example. And as one can imagine, I mean, my body is basically fighting itself all the time. And so, that's pretty difficult to deal with. And in 2013, I got diagnosed with musician's focal dystonia. And, that was a period in my life where I practiced around 6 hours per day. And suddenly, I touched the guitar and the strings felt weird. I can't even, pinpoint what it was actually. It felt really weird, like something I've never felt before. And I thought, okay, you've been practicing for so long, so maybe I just take a break. And, I took a few days off and I returned to the guitar. and when I came back to the guitar, things had actually gotten worse. So I was not able to play beginner's open chords anymore. I was not even able to play pentatonic scale anymore. And as you can imagine, I was pretty shocked and confused too, because I didn't even know what was going on with my hand. And so I did some research and thought, okay, might be best to have this checked by a neurologist, which I did. I went to a neurologist, and he did all kinds of nerve tests, basically to see if a nerve was trapped or something. And afterwards, he told me, okay, I didn't find anything. What you have is called musician's focal dystonia. This is an incurable disease. Once you have it, you will never, ever play music again. It's incurable. The medical community, we have no idea where it comes from. Yeah, and okay, I heard him, but still, somehow, I had faith in myself. I thought, okay, if nobody had cured it before, okay, then I will be the first person who will cure it. I will find a way to do this. Because for me, not playing was just not in the cards, right? Was not imaginable. And so I went home. The great thing was now I had a name, and I researched on the internet, and I found a guy called Joaquin Fabra. And Joaquin Fabra has a webpage, and he has worked with many, many musicians that suffer from focal dystonia, drummers, violin players, pianists, all kinds of people. And I could see before and after videos, and I was amazed. My focal dystonia presented itself by when I wanted to touch the guitar, my third and fourth finger would curl up immediately. So I would, I couldn't control it. Every time I would approach the guitar, my third and fourth finger would curl in, and that would be it. I wouldn't be able to play anything. And so I contacted Joaquin Fabra, and we made an appointment, and he confirmed this is musician's focal dystonia. And I worked with him for many, many years, and he helped me to overcome focal dystonia. And if I might, I would just address a few pieces of misinformation that are flowing out there on the internet, maybe to help other people who suffer from focal dystonia. So the first thing would be the medical community thinks it's a neurological disease. That never made sense to me, because whenever I could play any scale I wanted on my forearm. But if you replaced my forearm with a guitar, then immediately my third and fourth finger would curl in. So that didn't make any sense to me. I mean, what's happening, right? My neurology has changed within a split second and knows exactly, okay, this is the forearm, this is the guitar. Didn't make any sense to me. And the next one is the medical community thinks this is a genetic predisposition, which is not the case. I can teach anyone how to create focal dystonia if somebody is willing.
I don't think anyone wants it.
I think, yeah, I doubt it, right? And the next thing is that dystonia is caused by too many repetitions. Also never made sense to me, because I think there's no known case of ultra distance runners having focal dystonia. So, and the good news is it's curable. The problem is just the medical community is looking at the wrong spot, and they are injecting Botox and doing all kinds of stuff. That's just the totally wrong direction. And yeah, so that was focal dystonia. And when was it? In 2014, I got diagnosed with LMS, which is a rare form of muscle cell cancer. And this cancer was found in my shoulder, basically. And people, there's not much data about this cancer type. And so I'm participating in a study that helps researchers understand basically what this cancer might be doing in the future. So, and so that got operated on, and they took the cancer out, and luckily that was in the early stages. So there was it didn't spread throughout my body, luckily. And and I remember, funny story, I remember when I asked the surgeon, right, if I could attend your guitar event in Chicago, pretty much right after the hospital stay. And he just looked at me like, question mark, are you insane? And anyway, I went, and as you can imagine, for me, the autoimmune disease, I had to stop eating a few days before I went, to not needing, or lowering the chance of needing a restroom in or during the flight, and losing blood and all kinds of complications. And I got my shoulder was just stitched and bandaged up, and my left hand had focal dystonia, and I had two fingers. You remember, right?
I remember very clearly. Yeah, it was a big training event that I was running for. The whole thing was 2 weeks long, and Dirk came. His fingers didn't; these two fingers didn't work at all. And then he hadn't eaten for 4 or 5 days, and then you couldn't eat for like 4 or 5 days at the end of the events before you had to go back to Germany, and then you had the cancer thing all at once. It was unbelievable. And at that time, I didn't know you very well. I had taught you online, but that was, I think, the first time we ever met face to face. This was back in, was it 2014, something like that?
Exactly. Yes.
And I thought, maybe is this guy making this up? I had never heard of half of this stuff. The focal dystonia. You're the first student that I ever had who I know that had 2 others. One of whom you know personally, but you had it the most extreme case. So yeah, I remember very clearly. It was extreme, and I just remember thinking, this guy's a beast. He'll do anything. He'll do anything to learn, anything to improve, anything to keep going. And it's like, why isn't he a Navy SEAL or something? I mean, it was just really extreme. The mental fortitude that you did have and have to this day, just to function, just to get up. So it was really, really quite impressive.
Yeah, and so then in 2019, I was at a coloscopy, which is quite common for me with my autoimmune disease. So, and this time they found a tumor in my colon, and doctors feared the LMS, the muscle cell cancer, was back, and of course got a hospital appointment, and they took a big chunk of my colon out. And those were 2 operations. So the first time they took a chunk of my colon out, and then I had a colostomy bag for 6 months. For somebody who's not familiar with this is basically the end of your colon goes into a plastic bag outside of your body, and your poop basically runs into that plastic bag. So it's, as one can imagine, it's not the most pleasant experience one can have. Yeah, anyway, and after 6 months, that operation, I had the second operation, and that was reversed. So they put the colon basically back where it belonged, and that was a pretty tough operation for me. It took a lot of toll on my body. I was really weak for a long time, couldn't really train and work out the way I did before. Anyway, throughout all this time, I remember, when I was in the hospital, I always brought my guitar with me and had it next to my bed. I had my iPad. I was training music theory stuff on the iPad, and did everything I could to keep up my practice. Yeah.
So there you are in the hospital, doing your music theory, got your guitar in the hospital, very motivated. So Yeah, and I know that your story is longer than we have time to get into even the rest of it right now.
Sure.
But I just wanted you to lay some of this stuff out just so people get an idea that, when they feel like, I don't feel like playing guitar. Oh, I'm not so motivated. Oh, it's too hard. And all the little stories that, we've all told ourselves. I wanted I wanted you all to hear a real story about real challenges. And not only did Dirk have all those issues, but he had them all at the same time. That's the crazy thing. So, Dirk, why so many people begin pretty motivated? Like when you buy your first guitar or you start taking lessons with someone or whatever, people begin very highly motivated to learn guitar. But then sometimes they lose that motivation. And what do you think are the common reasons that lead to the lack of motivation to practice guitar?
There are many reasons, of course. Let's just take a few. I think one big reason is that people totally underestimate what it takes to learn guitar or a musical instrument in general. Like if somebody is not been playing before and they see a YouTube video and they see players who've been playing for decades, and the whole thing looks deceptively easy, right? And they think, oh, can't be that hard, right? And they know, okay, lots of people teach themselves how to play guitar, so I should be able to do it too. And once they start, especially if they when they start with me as students, and I put a huge emphasis on developing solid work ethic and discipline and focus and having a practice plan and teaching people to be more and more on point. And I think for many people, that is, whether they take lessons or not, they just get shocked once it really clicks and they see, holy smokes, there's a whole lot of work involved actually here. And I didn't really see this one coming. And I think this is one reason. And when the first shock sets in, and then people get discouraged and question themselves, and many give up along the way, I guess.
Yeah, one of the things that I find among the students that I've taught who lose motivation temporarily or for whatever period of time is that there's something that they're really not doing here. And I think what most people or many people don't do that I do, which helps keep me motivated, is that when they're practicing, they're not really connected emotionally to what they're playing. For them, for many people, it's just kind of going through the motions mechanically, trying to clean up the picking or clean up the synchronization of the two hands or whatever. And they're not really enjoying this. It's more like, well, I have to do this so that eventually I can get this down. And then once I get it down, then I'll like the sound of what I'm doing. And one of the things that I did pretty differently from, I think, a lot of people early on was I always tried to connect emotionally to whatever I was playing, even if it was technical in nature and it wasn't really something very expressive. And that made a big difference for me because it taught me to like the process. And if you don't like the process, then yeah, it's going to require more brute force discipline. And if you have that, or if you can muster that up, that's great. But for, I think, people who sometimes struggle with that, if you can just get yourself to connect, to the sound you're making, even if it's a little sloppy or it's slow, that's still okay. And that helps when you can get people to do that, I think. So, Dirk, how can the common guitar player, the average guy or girl, get that fire back? If they had the fire and then it kind of goes away, how do they get this back to play guitar seriously again? And then the other part of my question there is, can you maybe share some of the coaching you do with your students to help them to get this back?
Sure. The most important point, and what I tell my students over and over again, is to realize the most important thing is always mindset. Guitarists are so focused always on their fingers and, you know, the next alternate picking hack and how to learn the notes on the fretboard in 5 minutes, like all these gimmicks. And actually, interestingly, almost nobody talks about mindset, how important it is, the beliefs you hold, how you think about yourself. Do you constantly doubt yourself? Do you think you're not talented? Do you think you're not creative? And to actually develop a little routine and a little mindset routine for yourself. So you can always be working on your mindset and improve that, because that is basically at the root of all these problems, right? And one big point here is, I always call it connecting to your reasons. So it's super important for people to ask themselves, okay, why am I playing guitar? I could be, you know, watching Netflix and eating pizza all day, right? Why go through all this effort? Why invest all this time? Why invest money for lessons? Why go through all this? If the answer is just maybe, you know, to impress some people, that's a whole lot of work to achieve that goal, right? And I think that's a super important point, to really dig deep and ask yourself questions and ask yourself, okay, why am I actually doing this? Why is this important? If I were lying on my deathbed and I didn't play guitar in my life, does this make a difference? If I imagine this in my head, do I feel regret? Okay, you better start doing something about it, right? Or you might find, okay, guitar playing is not really that important at all for me. And then they have the reason why maybe the motivation is very low most of the time, because the reason is not, it's not really important to you, right?
Yeah, if for some people the priority is just not that high up on their list, but if you take it away totally, I think sometimes people would realize it was higher on their list than they thought it was. I mean, if you imagine an injury or a disease, or you know, you didn't have a hand anymore, or all your guitars were taken away and you couldn't do it anymore, what would it mean to you then? And I think if you put it in that perspective, like if, for example, if they were like you, where if they had focal dystonia and they couldn't play anymore, would they miss it? Would it be important in their life that it wouldn't be there? And I think for a lot of people, the answer to that question is yes. If they maybe take it for granted, the guitar is sitting right there and I can, you know, play it tomorrow, play it next week. But if it's not there anymore, maybe they'll think, hey, I wish I played more. So you mentioned mindset and working on mindset. And then you mentioned focusing on the reasons. Why are you playing? What is the goal? Why are you trying to do what you're trying to do? Can you maybe expand a little bit upon mindset? And what do you mean when you say to your students to work on mindset? What does that actually look like? What is the action step that people can take to work on their mindset?
Okay, let's take a very important point, and that is, in so many cases, right? We as human beings, we tend to avoid or like to avoid challenges, and appreciating challenges as something, you know, this is difficult right now, but tackling this, working on this constantly over a long period of time, this actually makes me grow as a person, and feeling joy in tackling challenges, instead of, oh, here's a challenge, oh, this looks like work, okay, I'm going to run and look for something else and look for another hack, another quick fix. And really enjoying the process of finding challenges, working on them, overcoming them, and then also to realize, many people think like, okay, I'm at point A and I want to be at point B. And when I'm at point B, finally, I will be happy. And they don't realize, okay, once you reach point B and you can play whatever you can play at point B, then you set yourself point C and D. It's an ongoing journey. And that's great because it's a never-ending stream of having fun with the instrument, a never-ending stream of enjoying the whole process. And I find that is really difficult for many people. It's like, okay, practice is a chore. It's a means to an end. It's a means to achieve my goal. But, really like practicing, not really. I don't really like it that much. And to shift that and to find it's actually like a meditation. And like most musicians will know the state of when you drop into the state of flow, and it's this, you lose track of time, you lose track of yourself. It's like everything's happening by itself, and it's such a pleasurable state. And this all goes hand in hand with totally falling in love, enjoying the process. And this is all mindset, basically, right? It doesn't matter what you're practicing in that sense.
Cool. So from the things that you mentioned today, the advice that you had shared so far, what are the easiest or the fastest that people watching you or listening to us right now can do today? What can someone do today to increase their passion or motivation to just want to play, practice, improve?
I think I'm gonna disappoint everybody now because I will say what you can do today is simply grab a notebook and write questions in that notebook. Ask yourself, like I said before, ask yourself, why am I playing guitar? Why is that important to me? What would happen if I didn't have this? What would happen if I lay on my deathbed and I haven't learned how to play music? And don't be in a rush to answer these questions. It's not like don't work on it like a to-do list, but get a notebook, write out your questions, and take them with you for a while, for a week, and jot down whenever some answers come, jot them down, take them with you, expand on it, and all that stuff really helps you to gain clarity about your own motivation, about all the inner workings that lead you to either be motivated and on fire, or constantly struggling with practice, and you're always wondering, okay, now I have a week of practice and then it drops down again. Why is this always happening? And this investigation I would really recommend for everybody to do. So this is totally uncommon. Like it's not about the fingers and how fast and alternate picking and all kinds of stuff. It's about, looking inside.
Yeah, good points there. One of the things that I think that I can offer here is that a lot of times people, when they're practicing, they are practicing aimlessly. Like they don't really have a particular plan for what they're going to focus on today, why they're practicing the specific things they're working on today, what the goal is for today. They have maybe a general idea of what the goal is. Well, I want to be a better player, or I want to be able to play this song or this solo, or like this person, or write my own songs or whatever. They have a kind of a general mid or long-term goal, but they don't have for today. What do I want to accomplish today? And if you don't have a daily goal for practicing, then that immediately makes the practicing you do just kind of mindless, aimless, without direction, without any purpose of any kind. And it's not as fun because you don't see yourself moving towards a specific small little goal for the day. You don't know if you've improved on this or not. It's hard to measure. But if you have a specific goal just for today, and if that, no matter how small that goal is, and when I say goal, I don't mean I'm going to practice for 30 minutes or 2 hours. That's That's not a goal. That just tells you how long you're going to hold the guitar in your hand. But I'm going to practice, these 3 techniques, and I'm going to work on integrating them together or applying this over 4 or 5 different backing tracks and different keys, different tempos, different style, and make this fit or find a way to make it fit. Or I'm going to work on increasing the synchronization of the hands, or play this lick, 2 beats faster on the metronome before this day. Those are examples of small little goals for the day. And when you then work towards that and reach those goals, it then builds momentum that helps you to think, hey, that was worth the time and the effort. I set out to do this little thing. I now have done this little thing. So tomorrow, let's do it again. It's fun. But if you're just playing or practicing just to play or practice and there's no real direction, what's there really to get excited about? And then what happens is that people look for ways to entertain themselves. So they'll go play a song that they can already play well, and they don't particularly need to practice it, or they kind of screw around with unimportant things. So that would be the first thing that I would say. And then the other thing is working on integrating your skills together is a lot of fun once you can do that. So if you've got, this little technique or lick, and then this little technique or lick, and you can do this one, kind of. You can do that one, maybe kind of, but you can't really put them together yet. You can't use them, couple them together in a song or a solo. That just means that these 2 things they're just exercises. They're just something that you do again and again. So applying what integrating what makes guitar playing a lot more fun, because it sounds more like real music and things start to flow better. So, Dirk, what could people expect if they follow the things that you're saying? I mean, how will all of those ideas, when implemented, how will it impact their guitar playing?
I would say, first of all, should be kind of a surprise for most players to hear about mindset and not about what to do with their fingers, right? So what it means for them would be a 180 degrees shift, and maybe many of them for the first time look inside for problems, look inside for all that stuff: focus, discipline, patience, monitoring your self-talk, how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself. Many of us, I know this from firsthand experience, we are our own worst enemy, right? Our own worst and harshest critic. And I think learning about that stuff is pretty rare among guitar players, unless they have a coach that teaches them all that stuff. But that should give an entirely new perspective for people.
Yeah, totally. And how do you imagine, and I know from personal experience, but when people find or create additional motivation and they stick to things and they do the type of things that you've been talking about, how might this impact their lives beyond guitar playing, outside of music and guitar?
The great thing is that all these qualities that we develop are personal qualities. They train us to overcome challenges. They train resilience. They train us to be disciplined and work on things when we actually don't feel like working on things, but to establish this habit. Okay, this is hard. Still, I'm going to work on it every single day until I get it down, basically. And the great thing is that all these qualities are transferable if a person so chooses, or at least tries to transfer. All these elements apply to getting in shape, working out in the gym. They apply to building a business. They apply to anything a person might endeavor in life to do. For me, it's always like, guitar is like this, kind of like a placeholder, right? It's kind of, yes, we get to play music and it's fantastic and we are creative, but sometimes I think guitar is just this amazing tool that just, polishes us into better human beings and makes us better people and better persons, stronger people, stronger persons. And all these attributes, of course, can spill over and can transfer into other areas of our lives. Basically, I consciously say can, because we all know people that are super disciplined in one aspect of their lives and it's and basically break down or fail in other areas of their lives. But at least, if a person is familiar with discipline and work ethic and all that kind of stuff, it makes it a little bit easier to transfer this to other areas too. And to think, okay, what I've developed on the guitar, I can also transfer to the gym and to my working out and getting in shape, staying in shape, or building a business or whatever that might be. So it's super useful to develop these tools. Actually, when it comes to myself, basically the discipline and all that stuff, that didn't come from guitar, but I started karate when I was super young, and that basically shaped my character in such a way so that it was easy to transfer all that stuff that I've learned, the basic mindset, also to guitar or to anything else, right?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of parallel. I'm just going to mute you. I'm getting an echo here. There's a lot of parallels there, and a lot of the same things that you've talked about already, and I mentioned briefly earlier, I've applied in other areas of my life, my business, for example. So I talked about integrating things together. And in business, or for those of you who don't have a business and you just in your career, you have a job or a career doing something, the concept of integrating knowledge and integrating skills and applying things that you are learning, want to learn, are in the process of learning, is critically important. And a lot of people don't do that at their job, in their career. A lot of people who are building businesses who have not yet found success in doing that. Sometimes they don't have the right information or enough information. Sometimes they're not focusing on the right things, but other times they do have some good insights, and they have some basic information that is applicable and relevant and useful, but it's not yet integrated. So they're not yet seeing how this piece connects to this piece, and then go ahead and connect them together. And whether it's playing guitar or business or job or career, having those goals each day. So, for example, I plan out in advance. I know already. I have it written down actually what I'm going to be doing this whole entire already planned. It's not an accident. I don't wake up, and say, well, gee, what am I going to do today? Well, I guess I'll head to my office and I guess I'll work for a while. Like, that never happens. That can't happen. Otherwise, I don't have a successful business anymore. If I would operate that way, I'd be out of business. I would have been out of business, 20 years ago. So you can't really do that. So there are micro goals for the business. There are micro goals for practicing. Even for songwriting, there are goals for the day. And the goal may not be, I'm going to start a song or finish the song, or, but there's smaller pieces. Like, I've got this second section of the song and this third section of the song, and I've refined both, but they don't yet connect. And I'm just going to focus on the transitional period. Whatever it is, you've got a micro goal for the day. You plan it in advance, and then you do it. And I think when I'm not a naturally disciplined person. Never was, ever. So, but I get a lot done. I mean, I'm very, very, very productive. I get a lot done on a regular basis. It's not because I am a productivity machine and discipline, machine. It's not this, but I plan I know what my goals are. I know what the big goals are, whether it's guitar playing or songwriting or business or whatever else. I break down those goals into smaller little pieces. Then I've got a calendar, and those little objectives are all planned in the calendar. So I know on Tuesday from 9 a.m. until 11:15, I'm going to focus on X. And when I say focus on X, I don't mean I'm going to work on this thing. I mean, This thing is currently 10% done. I'm going to move it from 10% done to 23% done between 9 and 11:15. At 11:15, it will be 23% done. And if it's not done, well, then I guess I'm not going to bed at 11 o'clock tonight. I guess I'm going to bed at 12 to make it 23% done. It's not really discipline. It's just planning, goals, breaking down the goals into small little pieces and then planning them. So whether it's a guitar practice schedule or something with, my teaching or the business or whatever, it's the same. It makes everything easier because you don't get overwhelmed by how much stuff there is to do and how much more practicing I have to do, or, all of those sorts of things. And then the other thing is, I like what I do. I make myself like it because I make myself connect emotionally to what I'm doing. Business, guitar, songwriting, doesn't matter. Without that piece, none of you guys would even know who I am. I would be just nothing, nobody. You wouldn't even know my name because I wouldn't have got anywhere. So those are, there's more to it than just that, but those are the big things for me that help me get on track, stay on track, and see it through without just brute force discipline. I said you could be in the Navy SEALs. I could not be in the Navy SEALs. Okay. But you give me a calendar and goals and break it down and plan it in advance and connect to it, I can get it done. So, I'm saying all of this because I want people to know that if you are one of those people who thinks, well, gee, I'm not very disciplined, I'm kind of lazy in this situation, or, I don't want to work 12 hours a day, or, whatever. There are other ways to get things done, practicing, songwriting, stuff in your job, your career, whatever it is, that doesn't necessarily require just forcing yourself to do stuff that you hate all day long. So, the more discipline you have, the better. That's definitely the best. But if you don't got it, there are other ways to get things done without it. But it's still going to require some planning, and obviously some action. And the more you can get yourself to like it, the better. And that's about mindset too. Do I like it when I'm practicing trying to connect this lick and that lick and it's hard for me and I can't do it at the speed I want? Do I like it when I do it for the 500th time and it's still not right? No, I don't like it. I still don't have it yet, but I enjoy the fact that I know that I'm going to get better at this. I know that it's going to be connected. Even if it's not connected today, it's going to happen because I'm not going to give up on it. So if you just think, oh man, I suck. Oh, I suck. Well, yeah, you're going to lose motivation very quickly. So it's really about attitude, I think, and mindset. Earlier, and it affects other areas of your life, as you mentioned, Dirk, for you going to the gym and for your business or whatever else. So we've got a question here. So I think this is for you, Dirk. James Maxwell asks, where should a student who feels totally overwhelmed not think that they can do it? How would you answer that?
Basically, it doesn't really matter where one starts. It's just this, if somebody is like a total beginner, he might work on chords, he might work on his first pentatonic scale pattern, whatever. The most important thing is that you need to know and understand your mind, right? The mind is always like, whatever I'm practicing right now, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. There's always something else. I saw this lick on YouTube, right? I saw this. There's a Hirajoshi scale. Maybe I should try this. And the most important point is to keep yourself on track and not to be fooled by your mind and constantly pulled into a different direction. And this is really the skill to see that the mind constantly tries to lure you in. The pot of gold is always at the end of the rainbow, and you're always running after it instead of focusing on what you're doing right now. You're working on chords, great. Work on those chords. Nothing else exists on this planet except those chords. Get those chords right, do something with it, and then everything progresses and you will do the next thing. But as long as you're unaware of the mechanisms in your mind and you're constantly falling for it, then you're going to have a hard time, basically. I mean, this can create a guitar practice hell for you, right?
Yeah, one of the other things, I agree with everything that you're saying there, Dirk. And one of the other things that maybe I can add to this is I think that when people are starting out, guitar players are starting out, some people really have no idea yet how much there really is to learn. I mean, they don't know how big and how deep this really gets, how far you can really go into this. It can be, but it doesn't have to be, but it can be a lifelong journey. And that really depends on, one's goals. So if you want to play Nirvana songs all day, do you need a PhD in music? No, I don't think so. Okay. So depending upon what you want to do, what you want to achieve, who you want to become as a player, what you want to be able to do with music, that's going to determine how far or how deep the learning, the practicing, the mastering goes. The greater, the bigger the goals are, the more time investment it's going to take. But, for someone starting out, they don't really need to know that at this point. Okay. For a lot of people, that would just scare them. It's like, hey, you're starting off playing guitar. Let's just have some fun right now. Okay. Let's take it one step at a time, and we'll let's have some fun. Let's get some basic skills. Let's have fun with those skills. That's the key part. And then let's go to the next level. Let's learn that and have fun with that. See, I think if people think that fun only begins once you're a great player, if that's one's mindset, it will be years and years before they ever have any fun with the guitar. So if they start off and they have a little bit of skills and we can make that sound okay, pretty good, let's get them to have fun with the skills that they have before we go to the next layer of skill, before we get them to the next thing. And I think that sometimes guitar teachers, as guitar teachers, we know that, okay, this guy he doesn't know anything yet. He only knows a little bit, and that's not, you can't do much with that. So let's go to the next thing. Let's go to the next thing. Let's go to the next thing. And it's always about trying to get the students to get to the next level because we want that for them. And that is part of our job, but also part of our job is keeping them motivated. And one of the ways you keep them motivated is you help the students to appreciate or have a little bit of gratitude for what they've already accomplished. And if you skip the let's have a little fun with this piece, then it's just like, well, I did this piece of work and now we're off to the next piece of work. And then it becomes all work all the time. And that's one way where people can lose motivation and there's no payoff, or they don't get to experience any sense of pride in being able to at least do this stuff pretty well. So that's if for those of you out here who are teaching guitar, and I know there's a lot of you here right now, keep that in mind as teaching. And for those who are not teaching, but you're just hearing this, thinking how you can apply it to your own guitar playing, don't forget that as well, that as you continue to practice in advance, it's not always about acquiring new skills only. It's about how can if I stop learning anything new and I had no access to no information, I shut my brain off, I'm not going to even experiment to find anything new. How can I take what I have now and make something cool out of it? Have some fun with the skills I already have. And the way that you do that is by applying what you know and trying to integrate the techniques or the concepts that you have, even if you haven't mastered them yet. That's okay. Start putting them together, even if they're not yet mastered. And I think there's a big mistake that people make is they think that learning guitar is a linear process. First, you learn a thing. Then you isolate the thing, and then you practice it 10,000 times, and then you try and master the thing, and then you go to the next thing and you learn that, and you try and perfect that, and you're practicing that 10,000 times, and it's just acquiring a bunch of bricks. Here's a brick, here's a nice brick, here's another brick, and you got a pile of bricks, but you can't do anything with the pile of bricks. If you have just 5 bricks and you make some cool geometric shape out of it, or you make a little house for a mouse, that's better than having a pile of bricks. Okay, so I think that's something people skip. And when you skip that, yeah, guitar practice gets boring, it gets monotonous, it feels mechanical, and there's no payoff. It's just not as fun as it could be for the level that you're already at. So Dirk, I want to thank you for hanging out here today and sharing some of your insights with everybody here. Thank you for that. If people want to follow you, they can do that on Facebook. I also have, sorry, was I muted just now?
No.
Okay.
All good.
Someone told me I was muted. Okay. So I also have something free for you guys. You can check this out, download it. It's totally free. Okay. You can check this out. And it is a way to troubleshoot any guitar technique problem. Okay. So whatever guitar technique problem that you might have that you're currently struggling with, this is like it's a cheat sheet essentially that will show you how to troubleshoot the problem so that you can get back to having fun playing guitar. Okay, so what this does is it takes, we all have various kinds of problems, technical problems or something we struggle with, okay, technique wise. And people aren't always sure, how do you troubleshoot? How do you get to the root of what's going on? Where is the root problem? Why does the technical problem exist? Okay, we have to first identify this to know, okay, is this correct? Yes. Okay, now you go here. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, but now we go here. So it's a way to break down the process to find a solution for whatever guitar technique challenge you have pretty quickly, okay, and help you to understand the best way to focus on your guitar technique problems and fix them like with laser precision, okay? So the cheat sheet is available for free, instant download. You can go to that link you see on the screen, and you can check that out. So Dirk, thank you for hanging out here. Thank you everybody who hang out here live, and for James for asking that question earlier. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time.